Has Rega done the impossible and taken all of the guesswork out of HiFi system building with their System One stereo in a box? Let's find out. Inside the System One, you're going to find Rega's IO integrated amplifier, the Planar 1 turntable, and a pair of Kyte two-way bookshelf speakers. Now, when I think of Rega, I think turntables and electronics, not so much speakers. But you Rega fans have been pretty vocal about the brand in our comments, so I had pretty high expectations for this system, even if their loudspeakers were a complete unknown to me. The biggest surprise was the size of the I/O amplifier. I have seen headphone and desktop amps larger than the I/O. Packing a mere 30 watts per channel and having only 3 analog inputs, the I/O is fairly limited in terms of features. It has a built-in phono preamp as well as a headphone input, but that's about it. There is no DAC or wireless connectivity of any kind, which for some of you is going to be a plus, but for others, it might be a deal breaker. The real anchor piece of the System One has to be the P1 turntable. It is a true plug-and-play turntable, which isn't marketing speak. I have never seen an easier turntable to set up than the P1. It arrives largely assembled and set up from the factory. Undo a few twist ties and mount the dust cover, and you're pretty much ready to enjoy your favorite records. As far as entry-level turntables go, the P1 may be one of the best on the market right now. Even the pre-fitted carbon moving magnet cartridge is pretty good. Which brings me to the Rega Kyte loudspeakers. These two-way bookshelf speakers are made from molded resin. Think plastic. And they have been presumably designed for Rega amplifiers like the I/O. And while I'm confident a lot of thought and resources went into their design, in person, at least to me, they look and feel like cheap all-weather speakers that you may see at your local big box hardware store. If you purchase a pair of Kytes separately, they're going to run you just under $900, which makes them notably more expensive than other comparably sized bookshelf speakers like Polk Audio's R200. Rega doesn't give a lot of info regarding the Kyte's performance, so I wasn't really sure what to expect upon hitting play. And while I am not a spec-obsessed audiophile, knowing a speaker's proposed frequency response can help me to determine just how judgmental I can or should be regarding a speaker's performance. Thankfully, it doesn't take much to get up and running with the System One, and with everything connected and set up, I put a record on, lowered the needle, sat back, and was completely underwhelmed. Maybe I had set my expectations too high, given all the time and effort Kristi went through to secure this review, but we both turned and looked at one another and just shrugged. I know that I'm likely in the minority here. I know many have been pretty pleased with the performance of this system, but at over $2,000 for the whole setup, I was incredibly disappointed. The sound of the system overall was lean, more detail focused thanks to an almost complete lack of weight and or bass, and a bit narrow in its scope. Tonally, the setup lacked warmth or an organic quality on a whole, which was not in keeping with my prior experiences with Rega. So while the system sounded nice when playing back simple singer-songwriter fare like John Mayer, the second, and I mean the second, I fed it something more complex or featuring frequencies below the mid-range, for example, Moby's Play B-sides, the whole system just fell flat. Now normally, this is where I would say just connect a sub or two in order to bring back some of the missing bass. Only the I/O lacks preamp or subwoofer outs, which is kind of surprising given that the I/O retails for over $700 on its own. It was at this point that I sincerely thought about packing up the entire system and just sending it back. But never one to give up that easily, I decided to ditch what seemed like the weak link, and I pulled the Kyte speakers out of the system and grabbed our Revel M16 bookshelf speakers and later the Q Acoustic Concept 50 towers. Swapping out the speakers got us to reverse course and give the remaining Rega pieces a second look. The tone of the Rega gear changed considerably using other speakers. I'm not suggesting that it literally changed, but the sound we were responding to earlier rested almost entirely on the Rega speakers and not the electronics or the P1 turntable itself. While I would still classify the I/O and P1 as more neutral to maybe even cool in tone, we were now able to enjoy a measure of bass which grounded everything and made the Rega gear sound a lot less forward and thin. And when listening to Apple Music and Tidal through the Bluesound node, I was pleasantly surprised by the IO's taut and detailed bass, nuanced mid-range, and pristine treble response. The sound was way more well-balanced with terrific detail and a greater sense of space, though admittedly the latter is going to be largely loudspeaker dependent. Dynamically, for only having 30 watts at its disposal, the IO does not come across as underpowered. If anything, it possesses a surprising amount of confidence at higher volumes. When listening in excess of 90 dB, the IO, at least when paired with the Q acoustics, proved to be pretty damn unflappable. Switching back to records, some of the IO's detail retrieval and sharper focus did soften. Sound was a little bit more laid back or warm or richer in tone due to the treble simply being less extended and the bass losing some of its grip, which I didn't mind. If anything, the sound was in line with what I believe a lot of people trying vinyl for the very first time will likely be expecting. As a pairing, the IO and P1 make a lot of sense, and when connected to speakers with more full range capability, I think listeners are going to be pretty happy with the results. This combo manages to sound engaging at both low and high volumes and isn't one that is going to overload either end of the frequency response, be it bass or treble, which means those two are going to pair very well with a variety of music genres. While other speakers ultimately save the day, in the end, I still have concerns with respect to the system, specifically the I.O. The I.O. is a capable amplifier, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it is a flexible one. Whether you buy it as part of the Rega system or a la carte, it will require additional investments in equipment to make it competitive. Compared to the similarly priced Cambridge Audio AXR 100, when it comes to features, the I.O. just cannot compete. However, if we're just talking about sound quality, I actually found myself preferring the Rega when listening to the Q Acoustic Concept 50s. For example, when listening to Crystal Method's High Roller, the Cambridge sounded, well, fuller and richer, dare I say slower in direct comparison. But when it came to adjustability and connection options, the Cambridge just mops the floor with the Rega. The Cambridge's tone and balance controls, they're going to be a godsend in some situations. Not to mention, it also has a built-in DAC and Bluetooth. The optical inputs on the Cambridge mean you can easily connect the AXR 100 to a television, whereas the Rega relies on old-school analog inputs. Plus, that subwoofer out on the Cambridge means you're never going to miss a beat. The AUDIOLAB M1 has a similar form factor and sound to the Rega. While the AUDIOLAB costs a little bit more, you are getting more for your money in the process. With the M1, you get a few more watts of power for difficult-to-drive speakers, not to mention an exceptional built-in DAC capable of handling high-res audio files. You do forego a built-in phono preamp, so some of you may need to take that into account, but on the whole, the M1 is the better, more well-rounded product. Less expensive options like the Marantz NR1200 give you HDMI connectivity, built-in DACs, wireless connectivity, and a full complement of preamp outs which are separate from its dual subwoofer outs. That just seems like a no-brainer to me. Shifting gears to turntables, there are other affordable turntable options that seek to do a lot of what the P1 promises. Options like U-Turn Audio's Orbit turntable are worth taking a look at alongside the P1. I prefer the P1 though. I really like it. It is super easy to set up and it would make a great starter turntable for a lot of you. So while I don't recommend that you go out and buy the System One from Rega, it is an expensive system, one that is incredibly limited by 2022 standards. That does not mean that you should throw the baby out with the bathwater. The I.O. amplifier and P1 turntable are definitely worth a look. The good news is both the I.O. and the P1 are sold separately. So pair them with better speakers, perhaps even saving you some money in the process, and I think you could be pretty happy in the long run. So that's it. That is now my take on Rega's System One. What do you think, Kristi?
Oh man, you know, it's always a little weird when all we've heard for so long is just how amazing brand X or product X is going to be, and only to be like, huh? You know, I mean, expectations are a real, you know what, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I was a little bit let down by the overall experience of the system as a whole, but I think, like you said, if you take them individually, things really start to look up.
Yeah.
For me, the amp and the record player are the real stars of the system, and I wouldn't have any issue recommending either of them. The P1 to me is the easiest to get behind, especially for people who are new to vinyl, or maybe just want to play the occasional record, or you just don't have an unhealthy obsession with the hobby. The P1, easy suggestion. The amp I thought was good. It just has a lot of competition. That said, I did prefer it to the Cambridge AXR 100. I thought that it did a better job handling the Q acoustic bass performance, but it was just it was only like a slight improvement. So I think it really depends on what type of listener you are, as far as whether or not I would recommend one over the other. Really quickly, I wanted to just I wanted to ask you a question because I can't really remember what the results of this search was, but I want to say that you looked at Rega's more expensive amplifiers to see if there were other, like if you went up market in their line, could you find something that maybe had more features? And I want to say that they were all kind of limited in the same way, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. You definitely get more power, a few more inputs, bigger form factor. But I don't recall off the top of my head, so I can already sense some comments coming. I think you're going to get up to close to like $2,000 before $1,800 with Rega before you start getting comparable to what a lot of brands may be charging $700 to $1,000 or $1,200 for. And that maybe that has to do with manufacturing. I don't know. That also, I'm fully expecting some of our European followers to let us know that in your neck of the woods, all of this gear is actually way more affordable, and now the tables have turned a little bit, and it's just here in the States that we pay a little bit of a premium due to like maybe import taxes and things like that. Please feel free, let us know, because I don't know. But yeah, you do end up having to spend a little bit more money with Rega before you become competitive. When it comes to the electronics, their turntables are almost neck and neck with all of the major players. Like they have something that is comparably priced from entry point on up with all of the major players. So I don't know why that is, why the electronics seem to be more premium priced, not necessarily premium featured. But that shouldn't take away from, like you, sonically. I thought the IO for 30 watts, limited on inputs and features, when it just came down to the sound of it, disregarding price, it was really good. It was really good with the right speakers. I don't think the Rega Kyte speakers, at least, I don't know anything about their other speakers, but the plastic ones, I do not get that at all. And I know that I'm probably in a minority because I've since looked and I've seen that some people, they speak very favorably of those speakers. I don't get it. I don't get it. And at $900 a la carte, no way.
Dude, they're not good. I mean, they're not even worth a mention, in my opinion. I would literally buy anything else.
Yeah, I mean, when you got the R200 from Polk sitting there at $300 less, it's a no-brainer.
I mean, I would even get the Sonys over those.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very similar sound, in my opinion.
Yeah, but
kind of hollow plastic.
They're but the Sonys are
$399,
a couple of $100 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even a comparison. Now I just want to address one thing because I can already hear you guys typing away in the comments about how you should have went with the Rega X or some other particular product, a different turntable or whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to be really clear that when I contacted Rega about setting up this review, we had specific products that we asked for. It was not the the one system. The person, whoever it was that I spoke to, it was their recommendation that we start with this. So we said, okay, sure.
Yeah, this is the brand putting what they thought was their best foot forward in getting us familiar with their brand.
And we really liked the idea of the potential of having an all-in-one system that could be a great way for people new to the hobby. Yeah. To get into have everything that they needed in one box. Like, I love the idea behind that.
Take the guesswork out of it.
It's just that the system as it's built is just really not competitive. Now, if you take the speakers out of the equation, and I think you have some pretty good products.
I really think that they need to sell the System One, do it. I'm sure it's working out for them. But they should just bundle the IO and the P1 and just say, add your own speakers, and then slash the price, whatever they need to do, and offer that as an option, because a lot of people may already have speakers, Maybe you already own something and you're just looking to go from, say, like an Arylic amp, right? Like something that's, good, but Class D chip-based amplifier. And you want to partake in something a little bit more traditional. This would be great, and not that big of a leap in terms of form factor and design and like having to integrate it into your existing home. This would be a great option. I'm not saying that one is necessarily better than the other. I'm just saying that it would give people a path, but you're really paying a lot for those speakers. And like I said, like you said, I just don't think they're worth it.
Yeah. 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah. I will say this, I'm not done with Rega. So anybody who's a Rega fan watching this, or Rega yourself, I really like what I'm seeing. And I would love to try out one of the higher end amplifiers or integrateds or whatever. I would even go so far as to say that I would be interested in some of their larger, more expensive speakers as well. So I really hope that we get the opportunity to revisit the brand in the not too distant future.
I mean, what you hope for is that people watch the entire review, because I am a little concerned that they're going to get about a minute and a half, 2 minutes in and just check out.
Yeah, hear me go.
They're like, well, they think that they know where the review is going based on the very beginning. Yeah. That's probably my bigger concern.
Yeah, that's always a problem when you're not coming right out of the gate, and like, it's amazing, But I mean, I don't ever want anyone to feel misled. I don't ever want anyone to go into something with the wrong expectation. But there is, as a whole, not great. But there are individual pieces here that not only are good, but that show the promise of Rega as you move upstream. Well, that is now our review of Rega's System One entire hi-fi setup in a box. What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below.
Are we still friends?
Are we still friends? My question of the day for you is pretty simple, and that is, do you think more manufacturers should follow Rega's lead and offer bundles like this? Take the guesswork out and really put together a prepackaged hi-fi system in a box. Do you like that idea? I am curious. Let me know. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Go ahead and ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Kristi diligently leaves for you down below in the description, or you leave us a thanks or you become a member of this channel, all three of those show your support, and we really, really appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that is it for us today. So remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.